Hello, everyone, and welcome to TTG Greece Fest, Selling Sustainably Masterclass, and the fourth day of this week's festival. I'm Maddie Barber, the Special Product Editor at TTG Media, and I have three panelists with me today. I have Richard Hammond, founder of Green Traveller, which is an expert in how to build and deliver low-carbon travel and eco-holidays. We also have Christodoulos Ringas, Head of Research and Educational Programs Department at the Piraeus Bank Group Cultural Foundation, which is an organisation that focuses on preserving Greece's cultural heritage. We also have Alexandros Angelopoulos, who is Executive Vice President of Aldemar Resorts, which is a Greek hotel chain that's particularly hot on sustainability. So that's what we're talking about today. During this masterclass, we're going to hear from these sustainable travel experts on what you as agents can look out for when curating more sustainable itineraries, as well as some examples of good practices or experiences in Greece, and also what the future looks like for sustainable travel. We'll also be moving into a live Q&A in around 20 minutes, where you'll be able to put your own questions to today's panelists. But to start us off, Richard, I'm going to come to you. And I know that selling sustainable travel is such a daunting concept to a lot of travel agents. What would you say are the first steps or most important steps that agents can take on this journey?
The most important first steps are to strip it back to being very simple. You know, there was two recent reports by Skyscanner and Expedia that both reported that the consumer mindset around sustainability is that whilst there are lots of people wanting to go green now and want to know the information about how to go green, they're very unsure about what there is out there, what sort of questions to ask and what information there is. And there's a lot of confusion. So I think the simplest thing that travel agents can do is to actually strip it back to the absolute essentials and think, well, what are the fundamentals of sustainable travel that we can tell our guests about? And that really comes down to three things. It comes down to the very simple things of what you take as a traveler when you go on holiday, abandoning single-use plastic, taking refillable bottles at very simple level, making sure that you cut down on the luggage that you take. And then also looking at where you stay, the hotels, and there are many examples of great hotels out there, and you don't have to compromise on cost to go green. I think there is a misconception there's a perception out there that going green is an expensive choice, and it doesn't have to be. When you look at things like Travel Life that have to around, it's in the tour brochures of the biggest tour operators, that you can actually choose a hotel that's green. It's the same price, everything else is the same, but it's greener. So I think it's understanding what choice there is and conveying that to guests. And then also obviously looking at the travel to the destination, and that's a very important point. Flying, of course, has huge carbon emissions, and overland travel has less, but there are ways to go greener when you fly. And I think it's addressing that. For instance, Skyscanner has a greener choices label now. So you can advise customers on, at least if they are going to fly, how to choose a greener flight.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, so Chris, coming over to you, what steps are you taking at Piraeus Bank Group Cultural Foundation to promote culturally sustainable travel? And how can UK and Irish travel agents and their clients and their visitors support your mission?
Yes, thank you. Our perspective is that of a cultural foundation, and our mission is to support the preservation and promotion of Greek cultural heritage. We have an emphasis on the industrial technology and the artisanal history and history of techniques in Greece. So we have created a network of 9 museums. These museums were created from funds from the European Union, and so we are obligated to operate them with the highest standards for 50 years. After this period, the museums return to their rightful owners, their local communities. These museums welcome over 300,000 visitors each year, and through these museums, we try to build live cultural cells in the Greek provinces. For the creation and the operation of the museums, we collaborate with the Ministry of Culture in Greece, local and regional self-government authorities, local society, and a broad network of specialists on environmental and cultural issues. So the easiest way to support our mission, what we do, is to come visit our museums. They're located in the regions of Greece, in the Peloponnese, the Aegean Islands, and the continental Greece. They're open all year round, 6 days a week except Tuesdays. And they have the summer opening hours are from 10 to 6, and we have extremely low prices for the entrance fees, and policies for reduced and free admission for a broad spectrum of visitors. So all of the above are done with the utmost respect for local communities and the environment. All of the museums have monitoring committees with members from all the stakeholders and the Ministry of Culture, and they evaluate our practices. We are in close collaboration with local communities and try to make them feel that the museums have no walls and they can take part and contribute. And last but not least, we are the only foundation and museum network in Greece to implement an environmental and energy management system certified by EMAS, the EU standard. And through energy upgrade programs, we're trying to create the first green museum in Greece, a museum with zero CO2 emissions. So as you can see, we're trying to promote sustainability through all our practices. And I think that this is something that would be very familiar to visitors from the UK and Ireland.
Okay, fantastic. And Alexandros, how can agents go about selecting a sustainable accommodation choice for their customers? What are the main kind of actions that an accommodation provider might be taking that they can look out for?
It is an interesting question because, sustainability is a trend of the last year. So a lot of the hoteliers are trying to figure out which way they should approach it. The first thing that they do is they follow some environmental guidelines, trying to preserve water, trying to be focusing on local produce instead of, importing or buying products from other regions of mostly mostly Europe, but the continent in fact. So there are 2 or 3 criteria you can look out for. The first is what is well known as the Travel Life certification. Travel Life was introduced by TUI a few years back, but now it's followed by quite a bit of quite a number of tour operators. And it suggests that the company, the hotel that owns or carries this sign is both environmentally sustainable as well as socially sustainable, is trying to focus on giving the right labor, let's say, criteria, follows the right labor criteria. So we don't exploit on the wrong side of the community, let's say. So the Travel Life is one of them. The Green Key is a very well-known sign that you can look for in a lot of hotels today. But there are 2, 3 things that you can only see on the side of the property, which makes it a little bit hard for travel agents to follow. And there is an increase in demand from the tour operator side to try to incorporate those in their information provided to the travel agents before they book. Now, the things that we try to do as much as we can, and some of the hoteliers are doing an excellent job at it, is we are trying to convince our guests by educating them while they are here that we behave the same way we would behave when we are at home. So try not to waste the water, try not to overuse services that you don't actually need, and they somehow carry an extra weight on the environment. You need more detergents, more water, more. So this is something that happens when the guests are within the hotel. But in fact, before you choose a hotel, you should be looking for a sign that says, I'm sustainable. A lot of the hotels are trying to incorporate those into their descriptions.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Richard, are you able to share with us today some good examples of sustainable travel in Greece?
Well, yes, over the last 7 or 8 years, we've visited Greece, mostly in the autumn, and filmed lots of great examples of sustainable tourism, often in the less well-known places, I have to say, like Pilion and the small Cyclades and Zagori in the Piraeus coast, and many examples of what we see. And it's not just about hotels, and it's not just about activities that you might ordinarily think, but it's actually about things like the food you eat, like looking for local seasonal food, of which Greece has in abundance, and has since time began. So we're not trying to reinvent anything here. I think it's more bringing to the fore of what there already is and celebrating it. And nothing is a better example of that than local food. And I mean, we've stayed in some wonderful places that have, really shined in what they've offered. And I think that it's places that are the very kind of basic sort of guest houses can shine just as much as the 5-star places. We stayed to the Abta convention was at Costa Navarina in the Peloponnese one year, and it's a fantastic example of what a luxury big conference hotel can do. But equally, you can find the same kind of commitment to green travel in small guest houses up and down the land. And of course, Greece is often seen as a sun and sand destination, but obviously it's a mountainous country. And there are so many things to do off the beaten path, not just at the coast, but inland in mountains. And great examples of that we've seen in Zagora, obviously, and in Crete recently. We were there in the autumn, climbing up a mountain that was higher than Snowdonia. Those travel agents that know that in the UK, it's a good old walk up there. And fantastic example of then you can stay in a wonderful village there that's been restored to accept visitors, and it's providing income now for those local people who were, historically have gone to the coast to look for work. So there's some really good work going on there. And I think that, one of the key things I'd say is that, the idea of sustainability isn't just about the things that you might ordinarily think in terms of hotels. It's about everything to do with the whole guest experience. So it's about where you stay, where you eat, what you do, how you get around. And it's about some of the activities, whether that's walking, cycling, wildlife watching, where the money goes into protecting the wildlife and also the areas that you're visiting. And also things like foraging, it means getting out, tasting the local. And that's really at the heart of what sustainable travel is all about.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we've now got a quick video to show you from the Green Traveller, give you some insight into some of these regions that Rich has just talked about. Let's press play. Okay, great. So, Chris, will you share a little more information about your museums? I know you've mentioned kind of where they are and opening times, but what kind of artifacts or experiences are they going to offer visitors that really give them an insight into Greece culture?
Yes, thank you. So our museums are thematic technological museums, meaning that they present the history of production and traditional ways of processing local natural resources. So in a nutshell, they are museums that promote sustainability because they present sustainable ways of creating economic value by taking advantage of what the natural environment provides, exactly what the local communities did in earlier times. So these museums fall under two big categories. The first category are the museums that are housed in historic production spaces, presenting the production process, its social and economic dimension. They are the Silk Museum in Soufli. It's a town linked with silk in northeastern Greece. And the museum presents all stages of pre-industrial sericulture and silk manufacture. The Roof Tile and Brickworks Museum in the city of Volos, housed in the old Chalapatas brickworks factory, and the museum presents daily life in the factory and all production stages of different types of bricks and tiles. The Museum of Industrial Olive Oil Production of Lesbos in the village of Agia Paraskevi. The museum presents the industrial phase of olive oil production in Greece and the changes brought about by the introduction of steam power. And last in this category, the Open Air Water Power Museum in Dimitsana in Peloponnese. The museum highlights the importance of water power in traditional society. So the second category, the thematic museums that provide information related to the permanent collection and all its aspects. These museums are the Silversmithing Museum in the Castle of Ioannina that presents the technology of silversmithing in the pre-industrial era and with an emphasis on the surrounding region of Epirus. The Chios Mastic Museum in the Mastikochoria, which literally means mastic villages, and in the southern Chios, and the museum presents the traditional know-how of the mastic tree cultivation, a cultivation that is unique, especially in this island and this region of Chios. The Museum of Marble Crafts in the village of Pyrgos on Tinos Island, the biggest center of marble crafts in modern Greece. The Environment Museum of Stymphalia, next to the famous lake where Hercules performed his sixth labor, and the museum tries to show the interdependence of mankind and nature. Stymphalia is a Natura 2000 site. And last but not least, the Museum of the Olive and Greek Olive Oil in Sparta, Peloponnese. The museum presents the culture of and history and technology of the olive and olive oil production in Greece. So, apart from their permanent exhibitions, which we talked about, the museums host a variety of activities, temporary exhibitions, scientific events, thematic tours of the surrounding areas, events such as theater, dance performances, musical events, and storytelling, film screenings, creative workshops, and book presentations of our publications. So there are a lot of experience for every visitor to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it. It sounds really interesting. Thank you. So, Alexandros, coming back to you, can you tell us a little bit about the sustainable practices that Aldemar Resorts has put in place, and how your guests and therefore the travel agents that are watching today, how they'll benefit from these actions?
So, dating back to 1997, we only heat our water from the sun. So, we've gone way back to start whatever it is that we call today sustainable, but at the time it was just being purely, let's say, environmental friendly. So just to put it in a few guidelines, we start by giving back to the community. The feeling of giving back to the community is being accepted both by the community, and it's also being perceived by the employees of the company as something that is part of the value of the company. And when you visit the hotel, you see that getting inside you and actually being part of the experience that we share with them. We also educate our employees on sustainability and encourage continuous dialogue with them and between them, so that whenever we miss something, they can really guide us to changing that to the benefit of the environment or the community, and of course the guests. Our clients, we start by talking to the tourism professionals. We do what we call today a symposio. It's been going around for 12 years. So we use the culinary experience to cook Greek food with Greek produce and Greek recipes in every city of Europe. We've been doing, before COVID at least, 45, 46 events per year in every city in Europe. And we try to convey to our guests, and which are mostly agents in those guest lists, to convey how we see the experience being offered to the guest, but they are the first one to taste it. Our first guest is our agents and our employees. Then we get to the final guest. We of course encourage loyalty, and we do that by not just being there as a hotel offering standard services, but as offering a unique service. We remember names. We come back to this personal touch of, even though we are quite large as hotels, it's interesting to know that people come to visit some of our employees rather than come to visit the hotel itself. We have numerous cases where they leave with the employees and they go to their villages and have dinner with their mother, which is actually kind of fun. So since 1999, we have all our solar panels in place. Then we also started working on the water supplies and give in general priority to all the national resources. So land, water, air, and wildlife are all included in what we offer as a final product, and we make very, very sure that we do not act damaging any of those resources. Actually taking care of, for example, the water supplies that we use, we make sure that they come back to the environment the exact same way that we got them. One of the things that I would like to mention, because it is a very interesting concept, we try to link the community with all the resources it has to the actual services of the hotel. So we use local wines, and we encourage visiting local wineries. We use local olive oil, and we encourage to visit local olive farmers, which, by the way, offer olive oil tasting. It is part of the experience. We have bikes, electrical bikes or segways, to make them move around the entire region without constraining them to a lifestyle that doesn't seem to be free as it should be. And you know, now with social media, people are looking for the experience much more than they actually look for the hotel. So we try to incorporate everything that's outside of the hotel inside the experience of the hotel. And this is something that I believe remains unique. And I'm really happy to see more and more hoteliers trying to do that.
Absolutely, yeah, you're truly leading by example there. It's brilliant. And do you have any future plans to make your properties even more sustainable or improve your sustainability credentials?
Really, we have a project that seems to be the future. I believe that we are about to witness a change in tourism.
Okay.
So this change in tourism has to do with several little aspects. I will mention two of them just to make it short and very comprehensive. Europe is an aging continent. So people grow older, they need to work for more years probably, or until they are of a certain age, then, well, my father or grandfather would probably be already pensioners. So the idea is to make a lifestyle for those people that is more suited to their needs, and not just create something that appears to be trendy, but at the same time excludes different parts of the community. So this is something that seems to be linked to the newest trend in the Mediterranean of the second home owners. You see, it's very strong in Spain. It's been for many years. It has been strong in Portugal. It has grown in Malta, Bulgaria, and Turkey. But then you see that Greece is seriously behind, even though it offers the biggest advantages. I mean, climate, gastronomic richness, cultural vastity, if you want, but we don't have this. Now, our Prime Minister passed a law in 2020 where you have a flat tax rate for the residential, for moving the tax residents from any country in Europe to Greece. So a 7% flat tax rate is a unique, let's say, opportunity to buy your retirement house in the Mediterranean, in Greece, with all the things that you can offer to a guest. But instead of having a guest that comes and goes, having a guest that becomes part of your history, becomes part of your community, and actually adds to the extra value of being, if you allow me, Greek. We have a very good, let's say, history about what we call hospitality, philoxenia. We incorporate people, we are very warm as people, and then you have a new community that becomes part of who we are today. So this is the trend, and we have been focusing on that. We are very close to bringing to life a project that has more than 1,000 greenhouses.
Wow.
With all this that I've described very shortly to life, providing what I believe to be the future of tourism in Greece, a second home.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And Chris, what are your future goals for maintaining the preservation of Greece's cultural heritage?
Yes, so first of all, the last 2 years we had to proceed with a total paradigm shift, because all the traditional ways of doing what we do in the museums were put into question because of the pandemic. So the museums were closed for 5 months in 2020 and 5 months in 2021. And we had to find a workaround not to lose touch with our audiences. So we turned massively to providing digital products that would serve the needs at hand. And this was a sudden digital transformation, even though we had already been prepared through digitization efforts the previous year. But we recognized the inherent value in being able to provide different cultural products to different audiences. So our future goal is to move forward very rapidly in this digital transformation and provide the museums with new ways of storytelling and reaching out to existing and new audiences. But at the same time, we're trying to keep the essence of what is a physical visit in the museum, which in our opinion cannot be replaced. It can only be enhanced. So this new means will enable us to further promote the impact of our actions on the sustainable development of local communities and strengthen our cooperation with other museums, culture, and scientific organizations in Greece and abroad. And last but not least, we're always in contact, a close collaboration with our Minister of Culture to assist them in promoting Greek cultural heritage through all European and world fora, especially in the field of intangible cultural heritage, where our organization is accredited by UNESCO to provide assistance to the Ministry of Culture on matters of intangible cultural heritage. And we have succeeded in inscribing two elements that are presented in our museum, the know-how of cultivating mastic in Chios and marble craftsmanship in Tinos, on the list of intangible cultural heritage of the world. So these are our basic two goals: digital transformation, close collaboration with everyone that is a stakeholder in the areas of our museums, and close collaboration with the Ministry of Culture.
Okay, thank you. And Richard, what are your predictions for the future of sustainable travel? I mean, what needs to happen to get us to where we want to be, and how can agents help us get there?
Well, I think that the fundamental outlook, the fundamental change that has to happen is the arming travel agents' customers with the knowledge to be able to find those greener and more sustainable options. There are plenty of examples of fantastic, sustainable green holidays, as we've been hearing from Alexandros and Chris, environmentally, culturally, socially, all over Greece. The issue, I think, is customers need to understand where they are and how to find them. And that's things like, as Alexandros said, about using Travel Life, using 2E Saga Travel Bag. Many other operators now include Travel Life properties, using Green Key certified places, but also looking for, beyond the resort, what you do in terms of your activities, what food do you eat. And it's understanding what it is that customers are looking for and helping customers find and ask those questions actually about where to find those fantastic examples. And there are, as I say, many. Greece is looking at sustainability. There will be changes that are being made as in everywhere over the next few years. There already is a lot of great stuff going on, and I think it's just about helping customers find those brilliant examples, and then we'll see more people booking them, and that encourages it snowballs to be more. So the future is, undeniably has to be greener. We're faced with the climate and nature emergencies. The future is greener, and I think it's all about providing the information to help customers choose a greener experience.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. It's been great to be part. It's been great to meet Chris and Alexandros.
All right, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All the best. All right.
Great, Richard. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you also to Chris and Alexandros. It's now time to move into the live Q&A where you can put your own questions to these three panelists. So thank you again, and we'll see you shortly. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our live Q&A. I hope you enjoyed that masterclass and learnt lots. If you do have any questions for our panelists, I've got Chris, Richard and Alexandros here with me this morning. So if you have any questions for our panelists, please do pop them in the chat and we will get to them this morning. I do also have a couple of additional questions to put to you guys as well. So starting off with sticking to the core focus of sustainability. Richard, I'm going to come to you and ask, what are some of the best ways that travel agents can reduce their clients' carbon footprint or carbon emissions when traveling? Do you have any suggestions or tips for that?
Well, I think if you look at all the various stages of traveling and try and break it down, I mean, usually the biggest carbon footprint is the traveling to and from the destination, and most of us fly. So if you can, in a way, try and reduce those emissions of flying. I mean, there is a great label now that Skyscanner produces called a Greener Choices label on. When you go to book flights, you can choose those flights that have a less than average carbon emission. So that's a good start. And then also, if there's any way of traveling without having to fly, whether that's on the way there or in the destination, even better. Traveling overland by bus, traveling around by public transport when you get there. They're great. And then, of course, also looking at where you stay and looking at trying to choose those greener hotels. Travel Life's fantastic initiative. It's all over the brochures, and as we said in the earlier, you don't have to compromise by choosing a greener option, in terms of price, experience, everything. It's just choose those ones that have gone down that route.
Okay, and I know offsetting can be a tricky concept to grasp, and that the emissions that can't be, you should only offset the carbon that you can't reduce. But do you have any recommendations for offsetting schemes that agents could look into, maybe start to use if they feel so inclined?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are several now. I mean, you want to look for the ones that have got a gold standard, ideally, because they've been gone through a sort of vetting process, and so look for the latest ones that have got that. There are some individual ones, the ones that I've used in the past. World Land Trust is very good, and there are several more. And I think do a bit of research looking at what ones are available. I mean, they do offer different things. Some are about trying to invest in taking carbon out of the air. Some are about looking at alternatives. Then I don't really want to sort of dictate to people what they do. It's up to every one of us to kind of choose which road we go down. But I think if you start there, that's a good place to kick off.
Okay, great. We've had a question in from Steve for you, Alexandros. He's saying, how are Greek hotels working to reduce single-use plastics? Do you have any single-use plastics in your resorts? How are you reducing them? Can you talk a little bit on that?
Thank you, Steve, for the question. It's actually an interesting topic because of the coronavirus, what seemed to be the most safe way to approach, the eating or drinking was the use of plastic. Plastic seemed to be more, let's say, safe in a sense, but at the same time, we have a very strict guidelines to follow from the European Union and the Greek government that we need to reduce the plastic. So the two things that we are working on mostly now is the use of anything that has to do with straws. Instead of using plastic, either paper straws or no straws or whatever that is, we have a difficulty in what the customer expects as a level of service. So you see a lot of people would probably be a little bit more willing not to use the straws in their own country, but when they go to the hotel, a five-star property, they would want the straw because they believe it's part of the quality service that you are offering to them. So what we are doing is we're reducing year by year the straws in the hotels, and now it's pretty much less than 5 or 10% left in most very big hotels. I'm talking about the most organized properties. And again, trying to communicate with a lot of our guests and explain to them that this is not the way to go. On the other hand, we have the little bottles of water. An average guest is actually drinking 2 to 2.5 liters of water per day. So this needs a little bit more time. In our company, how we tackle this, we're trying to put water stations in different areas of the hotel and offer something like that, like the one I'm using, which is a metal. We're going to offer it at cost at some point. You buy it once, you use it at the hotel, and you can fill your water in probably 20 or 25 different locations in the property. Now, this is something that has started this year, and I'm hoping it's going to expand. It's a quality level little bottle, but people have to get used to the idea of using their own bottle.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've had another question for you, Alexandros, from Richard. Do you have any plans to resume food tours? Do you do food tours? Is that something you do? Do you plan to resume them?
Yeah. Thank you, Richard, and thank you for knowing this because
good knowledge.
Now we're actually doing gastronomy tours all over Europe, and in the last 2 years we had to stop what we were doing because of the coronavirus we weren't able to have live symposio events. That's how we call it. We actually give our agents aprons and hats, and they cook with us traditional Greek cuisine, which has a different concept year on year. This year, we are doing the Greek natural herbs that we use in our cooking. Just came back from Italy where we did three events. And England is next in line. And I'm happy to announce that we'll probably have 2 events, one in Leeds, one in London for now. And depending on our GNTO's willingness, we can expand this further. But it has been a success for more than 12 years, and we're definitely not going to quit.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Lovely. And Chris, coming over to you, thank you for telling us all about your museums. Do your museums offer any kind of activities, either for children or talks or lectures for adults? Is that something that's offered at the locations?
Yes, of course, apart from their permanent exhibitions and all the museum experience that you get when you visit the museums, we have some temporary exhibitions in our multipurpose halls, which are exhibitions that are linked to the thematic of the museum, the history of the landscape, or the history of what we are presenting there. And they are sometimes there are traveling exhibitions, which means that they can travel to some of or all of the museums of our network, so 9 locations in Greece. And of course, we have one of our, let's say, most important activities in the museums are the educational programs, which is either fixed permanent educational programs for children from schools of the area. So we send them educational material. They have time to do it in the class and as a lesson, and then they visit the museum. They visit the museum prepared to have their class there. And we have other educational programs which we call activities for children, or not children, adults, everyone. They can come and join. And apart from this, we have other activities such as music events, cinemas, some activities linked to some feasts, local feasts, and local celebrations in the areas. So yes, this I think there is something for everyone to see when they visit our museums.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And Alexandros, we've got another question for you from Claire. She's asking, and hello to your friend in the background. Hi.
I've just invited Mandy, who is in charge of all the food tours, and she's been with us for I don't know how many years. She's probably been
24
since I was a child. She's our commercial director, and she will answer the Claire's question just because she's the person that's been following all the tours and knows everything. And I wanted to, being a commercial director, I mean, she's the one that knows things even better than I do.
Okay, great. Well, lovely.
So,
thank you.
hello to everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Anyway, from sunny Athens. The question is if we offer any tours geared towards a single traveler. Yes, we do. And for the past, how many? 11 years?
12 years.
12 years, yes. We are running an initiative, our boss's initiative, which is called Symposio.
We already said everything about Symposio, but I want you to tell about National Geographic.
And it's the second year now that we are participating in the event of National Geographic taking place in London for the single travelers, obviously. And we are cooking Greek. It will be July during the weekend. And our first participation there was before COVID, it was 19. And it was a huge success, huge success.
Oh, great to hear.
We need also to point our aim and our wish, which will eventually come true. We would love to have an event in Hyde Park offering symposio to everybody. It would be fantastic. You know, Greek thing, Greek food, Greek souvlaki, Greek experience, but it would be fantastic. And I understand that the weather will help because lately you've been having good weathers as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Chris, not that she's a horse.
Yes. Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so Chris, going back to you, one of the museums focuses on mastic culture, and it's a word that we've heard quite a lot throughout TTG Greece Fest. Be able to talk a little bit more about what that actually means?
Yes, this is one of our most recent museums, this recent acquisitions, let's say. It started its operation in 2016. It focuses on the history of mastic production in Chios. So just some brief things about the mastic. Mastic is a unique product of Chios, and especially of southern Chios. So it's unique. It cannot be cultivated anywhere else. It has unique qualities, and the museum was created with the cooperation of the Mastic Growers Association in Chios. They are a secondary association, and they gather all the mastic that's produced in Chios, and they distribute it and they market it in a way they see fit. So the museum is one of our collaborations. It presents the history of mastic from ancient years until now, and it presents the history of the Mastic Association and some things, let's say, architectural history of the island. This is one of the main, let's say, focal points of the history of and the marketing of mastic in Chios. One can start from the museum, gain some knowledge about the history of mastic, and then he can visit the mastic villages. There are a total 20, if I'm not mistaken, mastic villages in the south of Chios, and where he can get more information about the mastic production. It's a unique case in Chios because the history of mastic is very, very closely related to the history of the island. So I think that it's something that everyone should see. We have a lot of foreign visitors in the museum, in Mastic Museum, and there are a lot of things, a lot of activities that are being organized with the help of Mediterra, which is the, let's say, the commercial arm of the commercial partner of the Mastic Growers Association. They are in charge of everything that is going on market-wise. They sell the product. They have a lot of associates in all over the world. So together with them, we offer a lot of experiences, and we're trying to create what we like to call Mastica experience, to closely relate Mastica with the island and try to sell Mastica as an experience that someone can see in Chios.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Yes, so we've just got about 1 minute left, and there's a question coming from Kirsty about hotels who are growing their own food and using local suppliers. Alexandros, are you able to just talk very quickly on whether there are any experiences at Eldamar Resorts where guests can go and see the food suppliers that you source from, or go and see the production of the food that you're serving?
Very fast. We have our own production of natural, let's say, produce. In fact, this is something that has been growing in Greece. There's a lot of hoteliers that are thinking alike and are doing the same thing, especially right now that food waste has become a very big thing. You understand that there is a discussion throughout Europe that there might be a shortage of food in several areas. So our work as hoteliers and as agents and as tour operators, I mean, the entire, let's say, cluster of tourism professionals, we need to advise our guests that they need to be very, very careful on what they eat to begin with. And also, if they don't eat something, they shouldn't take it. We shouldn't put it to waste. There's going to be an issue. There seems to be very global discussion about all these things. And I believe that the more they spend time in Greece, they will find that there are a lot of different companies, smaller hotels, bigger hotels, any kind of hotels, that will try to use their own power from the sun mostly, or the water, and their own food. This is something that they will be seeing more and more of.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So we are now just out of time. Thank you, Chris and Alexandros, and also to Richard. I know we lost him there with a bit of a bad connection.